Good morning, everybody. This is Laura Petersen, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm from Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So lots of great stuff to go over with you today. I hope you're all doing well and excited this April morning. You know, we're coming to the end of April already, if you can believe it. And so basically, you know, I was just thinking it's like April showers bring May flowers. Is what we used to always say. And we really haven't had any April showers here, but we love the weather and everything the way that it is right here. And so I'm just going to start with getting into what's going on in the market in the stats in the last week. And these are the stats from Lake, Orange, Osceola, Polk, and Seminole counties all together. So when you break it down, each county is going to be a little bit different in regards to what it adds. But basically, our market is pretty consistent in regards to what's going on. The median sales price decreased from $370,750 to $369,733. And this is, for overall properties. When you're looking at single family homes, they went from $399,990 to $397,995. However, the average price on the single family homes went from $485,18 to $502,545. So, you know, pretty consistent in regards to that. The number of properties that sold single family homes went from 584 to 698. So that's the time of year that we're in, basically in regards to what's going on there. When we're breaking it down a little bit, of those 638 of them, 46 of them were under 250. 89 of them were between 250 and 300. 222 were between 300 and 400, which is a big increase on that one. Then between 400 and 500, it was 137. 162 between 500 and a million, and 42 houses sold over $1 million. So that's kind of how it breaks it down. Days to contract is currently at 73 in regards to that, and the list to ask price ratio is at 97.02. So that's kind of what the scoop is on that. On the under 250, it was at 93%, and everywhere else 95 between 250 and 300. Then it goes to like 97, 98, you know, all the way across the board. So that's kind of, you know, what the scoop is in regards to that. When we're looking at the condos, townhomes, and villas, they basically are looking at the median price went from $281,400 to $298,500. Very consistent, does that every other week. You know, it goes up, it goes down a little bit. So it just depends on what's selling that week. And the average price went from $321,000 to $311,000. So that's kind of what the scoop is on that. There were 148 sales this week versus 122 the week before. So when we're looking at that and how that all looks down, of the 148, there were 56 of them under 250, 19 between 250 and 300, 49 between 3 and 400, 15 between 4 and 500, 6 between 500 and $1 million, and 3 of them over $1 million. Now, the average days to contract on that is 91 versus 73. The final price and all of that is to sale is 96.14. And 93.6 and 93.98 up to 300, where there's a little bit of room on the low side. And then there were 3 of them that sold over $1 million, and so that was at 96.1. All the others are at 97.98. So basically, you know, when it comes down to it, you've got a little bit of marketing of room there to negotiate, but that's kind of, you know, what the scoop is when it comes down to it. Now, an interesting thing that I see here as well are the leases and what's happening with that. The median price of the leases went from $2,250 to $2,300 on single family homes. The average price was $2,496. And then on the condos, townhomes, that went from 2,000 to 1,895. So they're staying pretty consistent in regards to that. I was helping one of my clients actually find a renter this week, and he found one in a day, 2,000 for a property in Buenaventura Lakes. So, basically, it's like there are some of them that are on the market for 2,400, but they're kind of sitting there. So, he decided to go at 2,000 and, rented it right away. So it's kind of the same thing. Supply and demand is what happens in everything that is going on out there in real estate. And right now with our inventory, basically, there's quite a bit of inventory, and so as a result of that, what's going on is that buyers have choices. Houses are sitting on the market if they're not priced appropriately. Now, there's definitely some things that we can do, and we do to make sure that your houses actually go faster, that all of those kinds of things happen. And with our marketing, we definitely beat the standards by significant amounts. Basically, usually it's by 25% of the time. So basically, when it comes down to it, we want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to help you achieve your goals when it comes to real estate, if you're the seller and if you're the buyer, to find that house. And even, it'd be surprising, even though there's a lot of houses on the market, it might not be the one that you want. And so what you've got to do is you've got to dig through and actually find the one that you're looking for. And we're very good at finding those off-market properties for those folks that are looking for that. And that's one of my favorite things to do, is like to win the market, is what I feel like that we do in doing that, in getting the houses sold for the sellers that we're working with, and getting the buyers for the houses that they're looking for that might not be obvious to the average everyday person. You're not going to find it online. You're not going to find it, in those kinds of places, but they are out there and you can get it. I might have said this before a few months ago or even years ago, but basically I was one of the conferences that I was at, which we go to regularly. Somebody was saying, hey, in our market, there's just no inventory. And the person who they were talking to said, well, I beg to differ. He said, I just flew in and I was looking at all of the rooftops that exist here in this city, and there are a lot of properties that are there. And he was right. Basically, the bottom line is that if there is a house out there, somebody, everybody probably has their price. If your house is worth $400,000 and somebody came and offered you 6 or 7, you might consider it and you might say, hey, that sounds like a good deal. I could go buy another house just like this for 4, and I would be just as happy and that kind of stuff, and have like a little bit of a gain. But basically, when it comes down to it, everybody's got to make the decision in regards to what works for them and their family and everything like that. And usually when people are moving, it's a lifestyle change, whether their family is growing or whether they're becoming empty nesters, or any other number of things that's happening. Maybe you've got the whole family coming in and you want a whole big compound. A lot of those kinds of things are happening today. So you just have to know how to navigate the waters and how to find those particular properties that are going to be within your budget, that are going to be where you want them to be, and that are going to match exactly what you're looking for. And that's what I think is really important in doing it. So we're going to get into some of the nitty gritty in regards to what's going on around in real estate for the rest of the show, how you can use technology to get ahead, and so much more. So if you want to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break. Welcome back, everybody. This is Laura Petersen, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm from Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. To discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So when I was looking at this today that it was talking about why mortgage automation isn't paying off yet. And so it just brought to mind that there's some things that, automation is definitely moving forward, and some things they're not moving forward necessarily as fast as you think they should. And so you may wonder, hey, in real estate, is there automation that's coming down the wire that's definitely going to help? And I know that there is, because we definitely are on the cutting edge of it with using AI with our cash offer program, that you can go ahead and have offers immediately today and not have to have any showings in your house if you don't want to, and still walk away with market value of your home. So there's all kinds of things out there that do exist. But, apparently and it's just this platform that is saying, the platform True, that it's promised faster and better processing, decisions, and borrower experiences, but the gains have been offset by slower production, duplicate work, and adding complexity in regards to the mortgages right now. And it's much of the inefficiency happens in the handoffs between tools when data has to be re-entered, reviewed, corrected, or reconciled across multiple platforms. So when the borrower information or documents are incomplete or inconsistent, files can move backwards instead of forward, and so it adds rework and slowing decision making. And so it comes down to data integrity, and so all of this stuff is obviously fixable, because what it says is that the workflow fragmentation creates what's described as an interoperability tax, where disconnected systems undercut efficiency instead of improving it. So more unified system and cleaner data earlier in the process can help reduce friction, lower costs, and make mortgage operations easier to scale. Now, we are definitely dealing with that in the real estate industry, that there are a lot of platforms. Some of them talk to each other, some of them don't. But what I have found in working with Your Home Sold, that, I have my own brokerage and all of that kind of stuff, but I'm working with Your Home Sold corporate and getting all of these things resolved. And it's actually very refreshing and good and all of that kind of thing. And one of the things that you constantly have to do is go in there and check it and make sure that A is talking to B, and that everything flows seamlessly. And we just rolled out a new app for realtors using AI that actually does all of these things. And there's about 7 modules that are on it now that all talk to each other. And then they're working on more in regards to having everything that just completely one talks to the other, and everything is making it happen. And so it's pretty exciting things in regards to what's happening. And, obviously when this stuff gets started, you see that, there are some complexities to it, and it's not working at 100%. And I think that probably what happens with a lot of real estate companies is that that basically, most of them are smaller. And even if they're a big name brand, that generally is just the brand. It's not how they run the business. And so what has happened is that they don't have the resources to go in there and make the systems the way that they need to. And so they are kind of behind the 8 ball when it comes down to it. And so I think that that's definitely where I have an advantage, and everything that I'm working with everybody to make sure that all this stuff happens. And when it does get done, it's going to be absolutely awesome. I had the opportunity this week that I was in the emergency room with someone, and they're fine and everything. They ended up having pneumonia. But the thing that struck me, because I thankfully I don't go to the hospitals often or anything, but this was a state-of-the-art hospital. And basically, I just noticed that everything, all the systems and everything were working together, which is what you would want in healthcare and what you would want in real estate and what you expect basically everywhere in life. And today in our technology driven world. And basically, you still have to have that human touch, which they definitely did. But, just the little things like when you come in and you're put into a hospital bed, that hospital bed takes you everywhere. It takes you where you need to go for your tests. It's got your IV, it's got an IV stand on it. So if you're getting an IV, that everything, goes right into it. And then when you get to the room, everything's got all of the equipment and everything in every room that they just hook you up, to that equipment so they can immediately see your heart rate, how much oxygen's in your blood pressure, all of those things. And it can report it to the nurses immediately. And then, you need to communicate with them and you've got a button and it's an intercom. It's not somebody that has to walk into your room to find out what you need. And so, they can prioritize do you just, need a drink of water that you can maybe wait a couple minutes, or you're in dire need of a nurse right that particular moment, because of a medical crisis or something that's going on. And so and then all of the nurses and doctors and even the registration people for the hospital are coming in with their carts with their computer on it, with everything right there, with what you can do, with what you need to do. And so it was like seamless using technology, keeping that human element and everything. But it was that you felt like everything was going, syncing together and working together so that everything could be done the way that it needs to be done. And so in many cases, real estate could use an increase in that. But I have found that we are definitely on the cutting edge of all of that in making sure that everything happens, like with the systems and with everything that exists out there to make sure that, you get your house shown basically the way that it needs to be shown, meaning that you're going to have a lot of people come at once if you are going to put it on the market the regular way and not take one of these companies up on their cash offer. Then you're going to, have a lot of people come at once and make that decision on that house so that you can rip the Band-Aid off quick instead of dragging it out. And in this market, you do have to be very smart in regards to what you're doing about that, because basically the market is slow and when it comes down to it. And so you have to stand out. Several years ago, right after, the pandemic in about 2021, so 5 years ago now, basically, you could put a house on the market and you didn't really need to know too much of what you were doing and you were going to get offers. What you needed somebody to know what you were going to do is to pick the right offer and to make sure that it was going to close and to make sure that you were getting the most money that you can with the least amount of hassle. And it was, it was difficult in a different way in the market, the way that was. We were getting like 10, 15, 20 offers per property. And so sifting and sorting through those to find out which was the best one for the seller so that you were walking away, feeling like that was exactly what you wanted to do and getting exactly what you needed. And sometimes it was a cash offer and sometimes it wasn't. But you had to, if it was somebody that was getting a loan, for example, you had to make sure that that person was willing, if that house did not appraise at the price that the buyer and seller agreed to, that what was going to happen at that point in time. And if you were working with somebody that was just like, hey, we got an offer, let's go ahead and take it, and that kind of stuff. I had many arguments with, well, let's not say arguments. I had many discussions with other realtors that would tell me that, that the price is what the appraiser comes in and says. And I said, no, it absolutely is not, because the market is increasing today and the appraisers are looking at past data. And if they're looking at past data and that's what they're making their decision on, then the appraisal is going to come in low. It was very predictable that that was what was going to happen. They were going to, back it down 10, 15, 20, 30,000 or something, on those houses. And so basically, what we had to determine up front is that if the appraisal comes in low, what are you going to do? Are you going to stick to your guns, or are you willing to bring some more money to the table? And so in discussing that and having that done before we agreed to a contract, we knew what was going to happen and we weren't going to be disappointed. On the other hand, if you don't do that, then it comes in and then everybody's like going, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? How are we going to negotiate this? Should we put it back on the market? Should we get another buyer? So it basically came down to figuring those things out in order to get the best deal for the customer. So in this market, it's completely different, like I said, because we've been sitting at basically the same prices for the last 5 years because the interest rates went up after that. And once the interest rates went up, the market kind of stalled in regards to prices increasing. They've gone up little bits, but not a lot. And so basically when it comes down to it, we just have to determine what's the best thing for you and your family when it comes to selling your house, and then come up with a plan and make it work. And that's what we do. But we've got to use automation, in my opinion, where we can to make everything work together. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and I will see you after the break. Welcome back, everybody. This is Laura Petersen, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm from Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So one of the things that I was looking at today, that it said that the features turning homes into must-haves. And basically, when you're going to put your house on the market, that's exactly what you want to do, is you want to make it into must-have home. And this is talking about specific features and everything that do that, which we'll go over. But I think that any home can be a must-have home. And you can just do little things in order to make a difference. I was meeting with one seller last week, and she was actually painting her cabinets. Now, the cabinets that she has are nice wood and everything like that. They're not the particle board. They're nice ones. But the color is kind of that they were right now is kind of a peachish cream. It's it was actually kind of an ugly color, quite honestly. And so she now is painting it charcoal. And then she used AI to look at, to see what the kitchen was going to look like before and after. And so I looked at it, and it was like day and night difference in regards to what it's going to look like. Now, the first thing she said that she was going to do is she was going to do it herself. And then she decided to hire someone. And I also said that was a really good idea, because if you don't paint the kitchen cabinets correctly and professionally, they look like it. It looks like somebody did it. There are multiple times that I've been out with people that they look at the cabinets and they go, oh, it's like you can see the paint streaks and everything. Not that it's a different color, but you can just see the brush strokes and that kind of thing. And it really turned them off. So if you are going to be painting your cabinets, if you're not a professional, I would suggest that you get one for doing that. But basically, let's go over some of those things that they're saying are must-haves right now. And basically, the first thing that is definitely helping is homes with quartzite countertops, sold for 5.2% more than similar homes without them. Now, I definitely agree. Quartz is the thing that most people want. And the reason that they want quartz above granite and all of that is because quartz is a lot stronger, not as soluble, doesn't need to be, you don't need to, update, put the resin or whatever it is on there consistently sealing it again. It's just stays the way that it is. And so the quartz countertops, they definitely are a solid surface. They're natural stone. Maybe they've been, I think that they might have been changed a little bit or whatever, but it's definitely maintenance-free countertops. And so I definitely have found that those are definitely the best countertops out there right now. So if you do have that, that's going to make a big difference. And now it's saying outdoor showers were linked to a 4.3% premium. Now, I would guess that the homes that have outdoor showers also have like a pool or something like that. And so it might not just be that outdoor shower alone that made the difference there, but it's things that you can do at your house or that are there with it. It does say that steam showers are adding a 2.9% premium. So again, it's like if you can go to the spa and it's actually in your master bedroom, that would be something that people would be looking for. So all of these features, I don't believe that they're there on their own. There's other things that are compensating it with it. Like I said, it might have a pool that's going to go with that outdoor shower. It's going to have, if you've got a steam shower in the master or primary bedroom, that bathroom, then it's definitely going to be a step ahead and everything as well. So now these are some of the things that obviously you can see that they're premium as well. If it's got outdoor fireplaces, golf simulators, built-in ice machines are something that are associated with higher sales prices, with premiums of 2.8%, 2.7%, and 2.3% respectively, that people are paying more for these homes. Again, I don't believe it's just this on its own, but when you look at it, that this is what those houses bring in. In the houses that I've sold that have had the outdoor fireplaces, golf simulators, and built-in ice machines, that wasn't the only thing that stuck out in that house. They had a lot of features that definitely, added to it. So, but the point of all of this is that buyers are placing real value on homes that feel updated and ready to enjoy, particularly when those features support entertaining, wellness, or low maintenance living. And so I think that many buyers' perceived value is being shaped as much by lifestyle amenities as well as traditional selling points. And I would agree with that. So when it comes down to it, everybody wants to have that thing that is going to, be the thing that works for them. And that's absolutely, what we all want to provide. And so the more that you can do to make your house stand out like that, and you don't have to add any of these features in order for that to happen. But if if you've got them, that's great. But the thing that you do have to do is you have to turn your home into a must-have. And in this market, it's more important than ever to do that, to go ahead and have your house be the showcase that it's going to be, that they're going to walk in and they're going to go, this is the one. And, I've sold houses that are not updated and aren't must-haves. I mean, I've sold houses that unfortunately the people that lived there, that they had a lot of stuff. And when I mean a lot of stuff, it means that when you walk in the door, there was the hallway had boxes on both sides, not that they were getting ready to move, just that they were the plastic bins. It was kind of their storage bin, and in every room there was just a path getting to a piece of furniture. Like in the office, there was a desk in the middle, and all around the desk was completely full. The only way that you could get to it was a path. And so I've sold hoarder houses like that. And then I've also sold the ones that are definitely staged and look like, everything move-in ready, and they definitely are. And with our certified pre-owned home that basically takes the home and makes sure that everybody knows that it is ready to go, just like a certified pre-owned car. It's already had its inspections. You're obviously welcome to do another one, but basically, you can rely on that to know that there has been an inspection by a licensed inspector to make sure that it's got everything that you might be looking for. So there's a lot that comes to it when it comes to putting your house on the market. We actually have a free report called the 27 Tips to Make Your House Stand Out. And if you'd like that, just go ahead and give us a call and we'll be happy to get it out to you. But in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com, and we'll see you after the break. Welcome back, everybody. This is Laura Petersen, your host of Central Florida Real Estate Radio. I'm from Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty, and to discuss the sale of your home, you can call or text 407-566-2555. That's 407-566-2555. So one of the things that I was looking at is it was talking about what homeowners wish they knew first when it came to purchasing a home. And this is probably for first-time buyers, but, there's probably some things that, everybody else would like to know as well. And I think that, if you haven't bought a home in a while, these are probably things that you may not realize and everything as well. But when it came down to it, it said that that basically when it came to the financing alone, that 13% of the people did not know that they didn't have to put 20% down on a property. Now, a lot of people still like to put 20% down because it gets rid of the mortgage insurance. But so what the mortgage insurance is that if you do default on the loan, that if the value of the property goes down, then the mortgage company is going to be able to recover the full amount in regards to what they need. So if you put 20% down, you don't need to do that. But I have had a lot of people that have put less down that still did not have mortgage insurance. It said it did, but then the amount of it was zero, and that was based on their credit score and that kind of thing. But basically what you need to do is look at the options and see, basically what it is in regards to, what you have to do. So 17.4% of the Gen Z buyers thought that that they didn't know that you didn't have to do it. And actually, even the baby boomers had believed that misconception that you needed to have 20% down. So that's what I wanted, everybody to know. Of the respondents that took this survey, that there were 1,000 of them, 72.6% of them put down 10% or less when they bought their homes. And the baby boomers, 18.1%, were likely to make the down payment of more than 20%. So, 59.6% of the Gen Z buyers and 44.8% of the millennials put 3.5% down or less. So what the heck does that mean? Because it said they believed the misconception, but when it got down to it, that's what they actually did. So almost 60% of Gen Z buyers and 45% of millennials put down 3.5 or less. So what that means is those were the first-time buyers that they got the FHA loans are 3.5% down. You can get conventional at 3%. There are some 100% deals out there, whether you're a VA or if you're living in a more rural area and that kind of thing. But 18.1% of the baby boomers also put 3.5% or less down. And so that's all interesting and interesting and everything like that. Now, there are a lot of people that didn't put any money down at all, and that was 15.5% of the Gen X, 10.1% of the Gen Z, and 9.9% of the millennials didn't make a down payment at all. And so they either had a 0% down or they had down payment assistance. So basically, those are other options that you've got out there and everything as well. Basically, when it comes down to it, and this is no big surprise, that affordability is the top challenge for recent home buyers. That finding the right home that they could afford was the hardest part for 44% of the respondents. And so basically, about a third of the Gen Z and millennials received financial help from family and friends. But basically, so 71.7% of the people said they didn't receive any financial help from family or friends. They did it all on their own. So basically, what I guess that I'm trying to say from all of these numbers and everything out there is that there are opportunities out there for you to purchase a home if you want to. It just comes down to really figuring it out. And so before you start looking at homes, what we like to do is sit down and go through everything with you, get you hooked up with a mortgage lender so that we know that you've got the best situation, for you out there, that you know what you're up against, what you can do, what you can't do. And sometimes it's like you can't just look at what the amount is of the house in order to make that decision. You also have to look at the property taxes, the HOA, all of those kinds of things as well, because all of that is going to enter into your ratios that they're going to consider from the lending world and all of that. So we want to make sure that you're definitely doing absolutely everything that you want to and need to in order to make the best thing happen for you and your family. And the thing that I want to let everybody know is that it might seem like it's difficult and it might be harder than you thought it was. But the thing that I find is that it is definitely worth it when it's all said and done for everybody who does it. It's like when I talk to people months after, years after, I'm in contact with most all of them all the time, and they're very happy that they did what they did, that they went through and took the time to find that right property, to get that right payment, to get everything that worked out the best for them. And so they were in that neighborhood that they wanted to be. They knew what they were walking into, if it had something to do with repairing or not repairing, and if they were the kind of person that would want to repair it or not want to repair it. I mean, there's both kinds. I'm definitely the kind that I don't want to repair it. I want to come in and everything is all ready to go and all of that kind of thing. But then there are those others that they love that stuff. They're really good at it. And so they want to come in with those kinds of options and everything as well. So and so basically when it came down to it, of these 1,000 people that they interviewed and they talked to them, 72.9% or 73%, they said they would buy the same home if they could do it all over again. So the people that I feel sorry for are the 27% roughly that did not have a good experience, that wish that they would have done something else. And I think those are the people that really did not have all of the information that they needed. And so that's why we need to, meet in advance, go through, come up with a plan, and then you can actually go out there and find exactly what you're looking for. The other thing that I wanted to let everybody know, that the interest rates have come down for the third week in a row. And so on a 30-year fixed, it's now at 6.23 overall. And basically on a 15-year fixed, it's at 5.38. And that's just kind of a national average. So everybody's going to be a little bit different. But when it comes to mortgages, shopping it, finding out what's the best thing for you in this particular market is basically the thing that you need to do. And one last thing that I want to say before, I close off today is that when it comes to property taxes and when you're looking online and it's showing what the property taxes are, that is not necessarily and probably will not be your reality when you purchase that property. When people are putting the taxes on there, it's the taxes that they're paying now. if it's a homesteaded property, that's somebody that's living in it, that is homesteaded in the state of Florida, then the taxes are going to change to what the value is now, not what it was when the person bought it, years ago. So that's the biggest fallacy that I think people stick to and look at. And, I just want to make sure that everybody's educated and knows exactly what you're up against. So in order to get in touch with us, you can call or text 407-566-2555. You can find us online at centralfloridarealestateradio.com. And we will see you next week. Have a great one, everybody. Bye-bye.